Hello. Um, it has been said that food safety is everybody's responsibility, and ignoring a problem won't make it go away. Yet, that is what we find took place when we take a closer look at one company's response to a crisis that left three people 6 feet under, several hospitalized, 1,400 people out of work, millions of dollars of product recalled, and a forever stain on an otherwise glowing record. I'm Andrea Ray. I'm joined by Isabella Bracino and Michayla Harcrow. And together we have been exploring the aftermath of evading responsibility, withholding of facts, and overall crisis response from the Listeria outbreak discovered in the contaminated products from Bluebell Ice Creameries back in 2015. Our goal today is to understand image repair theories and how they apply to real life scenarios. We will first need to discuss how image repair theory works, apply the theory to the case, and then offer recommendations to other organizations to consider to follow in the event they themselves find themselves in a crisis episode. Like good old Benji said, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. You're up, ladies.
All right. Thank you, Andrea. So the first thing that we are going to take a look at is image repair theory. This is a key point of knowledge for any kind of crisis communication. It's defined as the verbal response or responses to perceived damage to reputation. Because threats to image are pervasive, reputation is important, and discourse has the potential to mend our face or reputation. Image repair theory's tactics are typically used when an individual or an organization encounters a crisis in which they need to persuade an audience to change certain attitudes or beliefs. This is especially necessary for anything that involves communication, which is essentially every aspect of our daily lives. Different types of communication are used to convey certain messages to a given audience. Image repair provides different tactics called restoration strategies for individuals or organizations to utilize depending on what message is needed and what the audience is needing to be catered to. The scenario that we're examining and applying image repair theory to occurred in March of 2015 when Bluebell Creameries, also called Bluebell, experienced listeria contamination, resulting in a public health crisis. The FDA issued a public recall notice after product testing results showed positive for listeria, a virus that contaminates food and causes the disease listeriosis. This disease is rare, but can be deadly. According to the Center for Disease Control, 10 people were hospitalized and 3 died. Illnesses related to the Bluebell listeria contamination date all the way back to 2010. When Bluebell responded to this incident, they initially withheld information from customers, retailers, and distributors about the contaminated products. Previous internal testing had showed positive for listeria, but the company delayed notifying the public. When they did, Bluebell's president at the time, Paul Kruse, issued a public apology and acknowledged that preventative sanitation measures had been implemented. In an interview, he stated, "We are heartbroken about this situation and apologize to all of our loyal Bluebell fans and customers. Our entire history has been about making the very best and highest quality ice cream, and we intend to fix this problem." However, Kruse was later indicted and agreed to a plea deal on 7 counts of wire fraud and conspiracy to commit wire fraud related to his alleged efforts to conceal from customers that the company knew about the listeria contamination in certain products. This is just one of many reputational threats the company faced due to the incident, leaving them to turn to multiple strategies as means of image repair. Over the entire course of the incident, Bluebell used the following image repair strategies. The first is restricting information, in which the company did not tell customers or retailers why they were recalling their products. Additionally, the company's president was charged with multiple counts of conspiracy and wire fraud from reportedly concealing knowledge about the contamination, further affecting public trust. They also used corrective action, which is where the company shut down their facilities for full sanitation and to update their inspection processes. They also used mortification, which is where the company president publicly apologized and expressed his regret about what happened. One of the sections further noted in his speech was that while the public had an overall positive response to Bluebell's stance in the crisis, the company still faced image threats. Prior to the crisis, Bluebell had an immense popularity and a cult following. So when news of the crisis emerged, many customers were angry and upset, and rightfully so, especially when they received word of the product recall. Since Bluebell had 108 years of business reputation before the crisis occurred, this minimized the potential for costly consequences. but the company was still hurt by the charges against the president and lack of transparency, but not as severely as they could have been. Regarding their social media response to the crisis, Bluebell predominantly posted messages that included informational and improvement themes during this time. Their consumers responded with comments containing overwhelming themes for loyalty and thank yous.
So, as Michayla mentioned, Bluebell failed to properly communicate to their stakeholders the health concerns that they discovered. Their lack of communication and withholding of information was a form of evasion of responsibility. While this strategy, found in image restoration theory, can be used successfully in a crisis, there are several things to keep in mind. One of the biggest issues in this case is the fact that this was a health issue. In a crisis, you always want to minimize the number of people affected, but this is especially true during a health crisis where lives are at stake. Once again, in the Bluebell crisis, 10 people were hospitalized and 3 people died. Had the company notified consumers sooner of the potential risk, these numbers could have been reduced and maybe their reputation could have been less impacted. In a quote from Assistant Attorney General Jody Hunt, he expresses the importance of honesty from food manufacturers and the reliance consumers have on them by saying, American consumers rely on food manufacturers to take necessary steps to provide products that are safe to eat. The loss of lives was a failure on the end of Bluebell and a lesson to be learned for other organizations. That leads me to my recommendations for other organizations, starting off with evasion of responsibility. As mentioned before, it can be a successful strategy used in image restoration theory, but never at the risk of lives or other such extreme dangers. It also still carries a risk of distrust from the public, so it must be used cautiously. Another strategy is denial. My recommendation when using this strategy is to be truly not guilty. When someone else is to blame, it's all right to shift the blame and deny responsibility, but if it isn't true and you're caught in a lie, you risk your reputation even further. The next strategy, and my recommendation when using it, is for the reducing offensiveness strategy. In this strategy, organizations can minimize harmful effects by highlighting past positive acts and also minimizing the crisis. When minimizing the crisis, it's important to do so in a way that doesn't disrespect those that have been affected. Mortification is another strategy that can be used. It's important to let the public know that any harmful events to have occurred aren't acceptable and offer sincere apologies. In conjunction with mortification, corrective action is a strategy that can be used to demonstrate true mortification. Taking steps to evaluate what occurred and how to keep it from happening again shows true regret. For my response critiques, while Bluebell attempted a few of the strategies found in the image restoration theory, their timing was not quick enough for the situation. In the case of a health crisis, this should have been addressed quicker, as soon as any suspicion of possible contaminants was found. That includes letting people know of the issue at hand, pausing all production of products for a full clean of the factory, and issuing an apology for those affected firsthand.
Exactly. So as you can see, accountability and communication often collide. And we hope that you have learned that image repair theory is a solid strategy in helping crisis response teams in the face of all kinds of crises, especially when dealing with the loss of lives and the rebuilding of consumer trust. We hope that you can see how paramount it is for the future success of companies or even individuals, like Bluebell did, in putting into action the steps of restoration, like being immediate with the sharing of facts. Share the facts that you do have with the public, even if they're minimal. Transparency rebuilds trust, and expressing concern sincerely, especially in the wake of the loss of human life, rebuilds trust, which exemplifies mortification. If you promise to keep the public aware of the facts that you are still gathering, that is a solid way to show your steps to corrective action. And if you draw attention to the changes that you promise to implement for future accountability, you are reducing offensiveness as well as incorporating corrective action. And just to reiterate the fact that denial only works when you aren't guilty. And might I add that Bluebell waited 2 months before they even responded to the concerns from the employees, and then they had to have like deaths. So swift action, corrective action, apologizing, and taking responsibility are huge in the overall umbrella of handling image repair theory. We hope that you have learned something from us today, and we thank you for hearing us out.
Thank you.
Thank you.